Hello, my peeps. This Algebra Nation video will cover workbook page 36 and 37.
Discuss inequalities. Greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, but I have a few little topics we need to discuss before we actually solve inequalities. First, how do we read them? In this first inequality, it reads x is greater than 6. Think of the inequality as a mouth, and whatever it opens up to, it's going to be greater. So here it's opening up to the x is greater than 6. This next inequality reads x is less than 6. So again, you have greater than if it opens up to the x, otherwise it would be less than. X is greater than 6, x is less than 6. This third inequality is 6 is greater than x, but you really want to read it as x is less than 6, because you always want to read an inequality from the variable. In this case, x. It's good to know that the variable x is going to be less than 6, meaning x is any number that we get is less than 6. The next topic is when you multiply or divide both sides by a number. In this first inequality, 12 is greater than 6. And that is a true statement. 12 is greater than 6. 12 is bigger than the number 6. If I want to divide both sides of the inequality by, let's say, 3, as it says, 12 divided by 3 would give you 4, and 6 divided by 3 would give you 2, and 4 is greater than 2. So notice, when we divided both sides here, the inequality symbol stays the same. I have to stress that because watch what happens if we divide both sides by negative 3. Again, 12 is greater than 6. We're good. Divide both sides by negative 3. 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. Negative 4 is not greater than negative 2. Negative 4 is actually less than negative 2. So the other study edge tip is if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, both sides by a negative, you need to change the direction of the inequality sign. In this case, from greater than to less than. That is the big rule. When you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you have to switch the direction of the inequality sign. So now we're going to go ahead and start solving these and graphing these. Of course, on the test, you will not have to graph by hand, but you will have to find the right answer. So for your choice of graphs, when you see these, remember, open circles are for less than and greater than. Closed circles are when you have the equal to symbol, because if it equals that number, it'll be locked in, it'll be closed. Let's solve one. Solve for the variable b. So this is just like solving an equation. Go ahead and what are the rules? Let's discuss this again. The rules are distribute, combine like terms on each side of the equal sign, and in this case, it would be each side of the inequality symbol. Get your variables to one side, your numbers to the other, and divide if needed. So with that in mind, here we go. Nothing to distribute, nothing to combine, so I'm going to get my variables to one side by subtracting 8b on both sides. 15 I leave alone. 4v minus 8v would be negative 4v is greater than 8v minus 8v. Simplify, and then I have 7. I got my variables to one side, now I'm going to move my numbers to the other. Remember, across the line, change the sign for addition and subtraction. In this case, the line is the inequality. I moved my variables to one side, now I'm going to move my numbers to the other. Instead of 15, I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. 15 minus 15, simplify. Negative 4v is greater than 7 minus 15. 7 minus 15. Remember, if you need to, make sure to clear it. 7 minus 15 equals negative 8. You can always use your calculator to check. And now we have negative 4v is greater than 8. 2, but b is less than 2 because we divided both sides by a negative. So now we're going to set up a number line. And since it's less than 2, it's an open circle, and less would be to the left. That is how you're going to go ahead and not only solve it, but also draw the graph. But remember, on the test, you're just going to pick out the graph. To write this out, we have divide both sides by negative 4. The negative 4 is to simplify, b, and again, we divided both sides by negative, so we're going to switch the sign of the inequality. Negative over negative is positive, and that'll give me b is less than 2. On a number line, I would look for the number 2. Since it's less than, it's open, and less is to the left. So there's your answer, and your number line match the answer for your inequality. So you've done solving before. We have a new topic with inequalities. I want you to go ahead and just try one of these out. So on the next page, give it a try. I'm going to have you go ahead and pause now and try and solve this for the variable b. Solve for b, and also set up the number line. Step 1, distribute. Distribute the 2 to both terms in the parentheses. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. 2 times 3b is 6b. Everything else you'll leave alone. From here, combine like terms on each side of the inequality. In this case, there's nothing to combine. Get my variables to one side, my numbers to the other, and divide if needed. Here I'm going to go ahead and subtract 6b from both sides. I will get negative 6. 4b minus 6b is negative 2b is greater than negative 16, and the 6b is simplified. Again, I got my variables to one side. Now I'm going to get my numbers to the other, and whenever you move, add and subtract, you're going to change the sign. Again, across the line, change the sign. Instead of subtracting 6, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 6 plus 6 would be 0, so that simplifies. Negative 2b is greater than negative 16 plus 6. You're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. But just in case, remember, clear your calculator, you can type in 16, make it a negative, plus 6 to give you negative 10. Lastly, divide both sides by negative 2. And since we're dividing both sides by a negative, you're going to have to switch the direction of the inequality symbol. The negative 2's simplify, giving you b is less than 5. So the negative over negative is positive, and 10 over 2, 10 divided by 2 would give you 5. On your number line, you'd have the number 5, open or closed. It would be open because it's not equal to. If it was equal to, it would be closed.